Video, you're going to learn 3 hidden gems from the amazing Theodore Annemann. Annemann was a master at mentalism and gave us a lot of literature on the subject. In this video, you're going to learn how to give a spectator a book, have them think of a word, and you'll be able to guess that word. You're going to learn a card trick where you lay out a row of cards, you turn your back, they think of one, and then that card will magically vanish and reappear in the card box. And a crazy card to wallet where they get a free choice of a few cards, you don't even have to palm the card, and it appears inside the wallet. If you're a returning viewer, you might have seen these as solo videos, but I'm compiling them all here at the end of this month because we've been focusing on these Theodore Annemann classic gems. So if you want to keep learning magic like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. But in the meantime, sit back, relax, and enjoy learning these cool magic tricks. So as you can see, all these cards are different. So random ordered deck. And I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment here where I'm just going to have you choose amongst some cards. So we'll lay out whatever the top 5 cards are here. And what I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to turn my back. You're going to turn over one of these cards and then you're going to memorize it. And if you were here, I'd have you mix them around as well, okay? So it would look something like turning over the card, memorizing it, and then we would mix the cards around. I'll just use a different one because I've seen that one. Okay, so here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to turn around. I'll kind of blindly turn one up for you, okay? So I'm going to close my eyes here, pick up one of the cards, make sure you memorize that card. All right, I'm going to place that down and do my best to just kind of jumble these all up so there's no way I could have known it. Okay, I'm going to try to guess your card in a moment, but I'm going to do so in a little bit of a dramatic way. I'm going to use an envelope from my pocket, and I'm going to try to place the card I think is yours in that pocket. That way I've sort of like committed myself to the card, right? So let me see here. I'm gonna go with, okay. So I'm gonna place that inside my little card sleeve here. And now I've committed myself to the card. Okay, you remember your card. Let's say on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, 5 of diamonds. Okay, I'm getting the feeling that that's not it. So which one? Oh, let's see here. We have the Queen of Clubs, the 8 of Hearts, and it looks like I'm missing a card. You still remember yours, right? Well, here's the crazy thing. This box has been here the entire time. You could have turned over any one of those cards, and yet that 3 of spades you were thinking of is now inside the box. In this video, you're going to learn an incredible card trick. Imagine laying out a group of cards for your audience member to choose. You turn your back, they look at one, they mix all those cards together. Then as you go to find which card you think it might be, all of a sudden one of those cards has vanished and shows up inside the card box. This is not the Biddle trick. This is something different, and it'll feel different to you when you see how it's done. This is another classic gem from Theodore Annemann, and you're about to learn it right now. All right, so let's get into the setup for this trick. This trick uses a classic forcing method that has come up in many other tricks over the years, but this is kind of a classic example of it. And I've simply modernized a couple things so that we're not using a suit lapel jacket for certain things, stuff like that. You'll kind of see how that plays out. The first thing you need is 5 duplicates of a given card. So you can do that by collecting multiple decks, or magic companies, they actually sell what's called one-way decks, one-way forcing decks. And so if you buy a one-way forcing deck, you'll have a lot of duplicates of a given card. Then all you need is a regular deck of cards, and you're going to need basically a 6th version of that card that comes from just your normal deck of cards, and that's going to be planted wherever you want it to appear. So for the demonstration, I have it in the card box, but if that's going to be inconvenient for you in performance, you can place it somewhere like your wallet. As long as it's somewhere separate from the pockets that you're getting things in and out of, I think that's a good thing. So if it's something that you can set on the table and have hidden somewhere, that's a great place for it to end up appearing. From your normal deck, you're then gonna want to take 4 random cards, and some good variety is good, different suits and different colors, number cards, picture cards, and you're gonna place that with this object, which for me, this is just what I could find that I have. This is like a little card sleeve. What might even be better is if you have a card-sized envelope, and you're going to put those together in your back pocket. Now for me, I am left-handed, so I'm gonna put these in my right hand back pocket so that when I reach behind with my subordinate hand, I can come out with these. So if you're right-handed, you might feel more comfortable putting it in your left hand so that when you come back in a dealer's grip, you're gonna be able to retrieve those items. So this stack of cards is in your back pocket. So the only thing you need to do before you put these on top is put a random card at the 4th position. Make it different looking from the duplicate card you have. And that way, when you lay them out 1, 2, 3, 4, this is going to be the 4th card, 5th card, and then you'll use this card later. The way Annemann taught it is that you can come out with your deck of cards, and while you're talking about what you're going to do, you're going to casually shuffle the cards so that the top of the deck is retained. And all you need to do for that is just start early with these cards, and that way they'll kind of end sooner. So it's pretty easy to retain the top stock with just a casual bridge shuffle if you just kind of pay attention to that. What's great about that is it's not overcomplicated, it's just casual. You're talking about how you're gonna have the spectator pick a card, and so you're just gonna randomly shuffle the deck. One other thing Annemann talked about was showing as much of the deck as you could without spreading too far, and that way they can see that all the cards are different. And you can say, look, all the cards are different, and then you just don't spread too far, turn over, and then shuffle the cards, and you can go right into the trick. If you're enjoying this, consider subscribing so you don't miss another video. I also have magician merch on my channel, including items with card reveals on them so that you can use them as maybe a finale to a card routine you're doing. And hey, I made a journal for magicians that you can get on Amazon. You can keep track of your props and your pocket space, and this allows you to keep your notes on magic in a dedicated space away from other writing. And if you want to get videos ahead of time, you can join the membership at the Insider tier. Thank you for supporting this channel. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Now, at this point, this is where I would usually encourage something like a force to then get into this, like a force that cuts to this point in the deck, but I don't really think you need it with that intro that Annemann taught, that kind of casual, show that all the cards are different, shuffle the cards, and then because we're having them pick from 5 cards, I don't think you have to add too much more procedure before that. So now you're going to explain that you're going to lay out these 5 cards, and with more space you can do it in one long row, but just so you can see them all, I'm going to lay them out like this. And you explain the procedure to them that you're going to turn your back and that they're going to look at one of these cards. And you want to explain to them that you don't want them to crease the corners or anything so that you could guess it, so you're going to show them how you want them to turn it over. So you explain to them that you're going to turn your back, and you say you're going to turn over a card, and you turn over the one card that isn't a duplicate. And so it's just in the act of, it's like you're showing them what you want them to do, that you flash this card at them. And then you go, oh, well, I don't want to know that card. And then you place down another card, and now all of these are duplicates. So it's just this nice little subtlety that Annemann thought of that allows them to think all these cards are going to be random when they end up looking at another card later. So you turn your back, and they're going to look at any one of these cards, and no matter which one it is, it's the 3 of spades, which is great. Then you can explain to them that you want them to kind of mix them around a little bit, and that also keeps them from looking at any other cards because of the procedure. So they've mixed them around, then you come around and you pick them back up. So they've shuffled them, you've taken them back. Of course, you know that these are all 3 of spades, and you are going to go into the next part of the procedure. So here's the next part. This is the switch. So you're going to come behind, and I want you to imagine here that we have our back pockets. So in my right back pocket, I have the thing I'm going to switch into, that stack of cards. So what you do is you reach behind your back and you reach over to the opposite side pocket, and you're going to dump these cards. But you're reaching not around this side, you're reaching around this side, and you do a far reach into, for me, that left hand back pocket. And then you're going to come back to here where these 4 cards and the envelope are being held, and you're going to take them out around the same side. So that's the switch, but here's what you say while you're doing it. As you come around, you say, now I'm going to try to guess which card is yours, and I'm going to commit to my guess, and you come around, you do your switch, by placing it in this envelope, right? So that's your motivation, that's the quick switch. So the way that Theodore Annemann did it was with a jacket, and kind of a similar thing of going into one pocket and then coming out another. So we're just kind of transferring that and applying it here. So you've come back out and now you have 4 random cards and the envelope, and you're going to do some acting where it's like you're trying to choose which one you want, and you just want to make sure you're not showing that you don't have 5 cards. You take one, you place it in here like you've committed it, and now you're here. So you've basically cleaned up this whole thing because now this is gone. Your method of forcing is completely ditched away, and you're just here now. You're here in this situation, and you do a grand reveal of the magician gets it wrong. Look inside here, there's nothing. Oh, which one was it? They'll tell you. You go to here, and now there's only 4 cards. So it's a little bit like the Biddle trick. And this is kind of how presentationally I've adapted it from him. It's kind of taking some things from the Biddle trick and what other magicians have done in that kind of presentation, and we're doing it here with this method. So you have that beat of, oh my gosh, the 3 has vanished, and then you can reveal it wherever you have loaded it, in this case, in the box that has been there the whole time. Now, this doesn't have to be a transporting effect. It can be just a force and revelation. So let's say you've done that kind of show one card that convinces them these are different. They look at one, they mix them up. You can still go behind your back for that switch, but when you come back out, you're going to actually have 5 cards, one of which is their chosen card. And you can do a true guess of their card by placing it in that, and it's just more of a straightforward, you've gotten it. Or you can maybe make the drama happen by placing it in ahead of time, and then doing some mind reading and pretending to look at them and say, oh my gosh, I think I got it wrong. And so you switch and you put it to the 3 of spades, something like that. But of course, I think it is really strong if you are able to make it disappear and appear somewhere else. That's always a strong effect. But I just wanted to let you know you kind of have options, right? If you start with that standpoint of having these 5 cards that no matter which card they pick, it is a force card, what can you do with that? All you need to do is be able to make that switch occur and kind of have motivation for it. You need to be pulling something out with those cards when you casually go to your pocket with them, so that when you come back out, it doesn't seem dicey. In this video, you're going to learn how to guess a word that your spectator is thinking of out of a random page from a book. This is a beautiful method that goes above and beyond what I at least would usually expect when it comes to methods to get to a word in a book. This is a classic secret from Theodore Annemann, and it's called the Premier Book Test. You want to learn this trick, just keep watching. Through a series of free and random choices, you're going to be able to guess the exact word they're thinking of. So this book test does use a deck of cards, but don't shy away because it's not a simple, obvious force and then they go to the page number or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this hidden gem from Theodore Annemann has a little more layers to it that makes it look really free, really casual even, and really fair for those skeptical audience members. So check this out. The deck is in a very interesting stack. Now I'll have a screenshot of how Annemann put it, but the way it is going to work is that no matter which 2 cards someone takes, it'll add up to 14 or 15. So I'm going to do a quick show of a few examples. We have 7, 8, 6, 9, 5, 10, 4, Jack. So based on the values of Jack being 11, Queen being 12, and King being 13, no matter what, and Ace being 1, no matter what, it's going to be 14 or 15. So here is the stack, just so if you want to recreate it, you can take a screenshot and do so with your deck of cards. So you see what I mean here? If they pick the 4 and the Jack, that makes 15. But if they pick the Jack and the 3, that makes 14. So you don't even have to cut it in pairs. Every pair of cards works in this sequence. So now, not only would any selection of pairs work, but also we can cut the deck. So we can make it look like it's a shuffle, but I'm just sequencing the deck here. And I learned this style of doing it from Illusionist, posted a free tutorial. So shout out to Pete Turner doing it in this way. But this is a way that you keep the cycle of the deck without it actually changing. Another way you can do that is cut the deck. And so you can have the audience cut the deck themselves, cut it again if they'd like, or you can explain like, hey, just take some cards, put it on the bottom, take some more cards, put them on the bottom, whatever you're comfortable with. At the end of the day, they're going to take 2 cards out of the deck. Now, whichever 2 they pick, what's great about this is that you don't have to know them. So it doesn't matter what 2 they pick. You don't even have to know whether this adds up to a 14 or 15, but it will add up to a 14 or 15. So Queen plus 2, for example, is going to be 14. You might have to instruct people these days what this value is, but you can just briefly say, let's pretend jacks are 11, queens are 12, kings are 13. Let's pretend ace is 1. So you might need a little bit of instruction on that, just because I think like the playing card value literacy there, that might not be something you can assume in modern times, but you can get over that hurdle, explain that to them, and they'll memorize this as 14. If it was any other case, it might be 15. Now here was something cool Annemann realized. 14 that they're thinking of, they're going to be looking on the left side of the page. If it is 15 that they're thinking of, it's going to be right side. All books, so far as I'm aware, list their even numbered pages on the left and their odd numbered pages on the right. So when they look at this in a moment, you'll be able to tell which page they selected. But before you do that, you're going to have another participant come and they're going to shuffle these cards, and they can truly shuffle them, but that will break the pattern at that point. But they're going to truly shuffle them, and they're going to take and flip over one of the cards. It doesn't matter what card. So if they flip over a card, it's going to be any value from 1 to 13, just because the nature of cards go from ace, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 10, and then jacks again are 11, queens are 12, kings are 13. So the highest number it could be is 13. Now here's where the little bit of prep work that you'll need to do comes in. You'll need to have 13 words memorized from the 14th page and the 15th page. If you don't want to have them memorized, what you can do is what magicians call a crib. And what you can do is you can write down that list, both lists for the 14th page and the 15th page, and you can have that crib somewhere accessible. Kind of a lazy but still effective version would be to have a journal, or like a little pocket-sized journal. And that can be what you're explaining as what you're going to use to try to divine the word. And then posted inside that journal, you have your crib. So you're going to open it to the pages. I'm going to try to guess the word you're thinking of, and all the while you'll have all the words listed in that crib, in that page, and then you'll get your word, you write it down, you can rip it out and get rid of the journal. So does that make sense? You don't have to memorize words if you don't want to. Magicians and mentalists have used the concept of cribs for a long time. Whether you have it memorized or you have it somewhere that you can cheat off of, that's the idea, is that let's say it was the 6th word, you're gonna have knowledge of what the 6th word is. And here's where watching their eyes comes in. So this person, this second participant, has turned over the card. We know they're going to be counting 6 down. You're going to tell your first participant, and Annemann emphasized this in his book, tell your first participant, all right, just count down to that word on the page. And they're going to do so even though they're not showing you, and they're going to count to that word. When they're putting their finger or when they're looking at the page, you're going to watch for which side they're on. If they're on this side, you know it's the 15th page, and if they're on this side, you know it's the 14th page, and that'll let you know which list to access. How cool is that? So the only other thing you want to do is be clear to them if you want them to count across or down. It doesn't matter. It might be easier to memorize if you do across, because then you have a portion of a sentence, which I believe is how Theodore Annemann put it. So you'll have 13 words from here memorized or cribbed, 13 words from here memorized or cribbed. So in this case, let's say they chose 15 and then they went to, the 6th word here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You already know it's the 6th word. You're watching them count to it. You're going to know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that it's the word his. And then you can write it down or divine it however you want. And because you had that second audience member shuffle, everything is left completely examinable. Now, one thing to note is that 2 aces are left outside the deck of cards, they are not involved in the stack. Another thing is that the suits don't matter, so you're just paying attention to value. Once you get that all together, you leave out 2 of the aces, and then you have your stacked deck. So this could be a Mentalism opener, or you could just have this deck aside and you have a separate deck that you're using for other things, and then you just ring this deck in when you want to do this book test. Some things to emphasize. Again, it would be easy to just force cards in a more normal way. You just throw some cards in, use that as your number force. I think that's a very easy and casual but still effective way to do this. But what I love is how you can give the audience member the deck and they can give it a few cuts. They can take any 2 cards together and it'll force one of those 2 pages. And then from there, they'll remember that the deck was truly shuffled after that. A random card was turned over and you will be able to ascertain, okay, 11th card, and it's going to either be on the 14th or 15th page. You're going to watch them count to that 11th word to know which list you're accessing from. So all of those things working together make it just that bit more effective because they get to freely handle the deck. You get a couple spectators involved in it, and I think this is just really, really cool. So another hidden gem to call to your attention, and I hope you enjoy reading some minds with this one. The spectator cuts to a random location in the deck and reveals 5 cards. They're given the choice to choose from any one of these cards, and there's nothing sneaky. They truly can pick any single one of these cards. So let's say they choose to think of this one as their card. The magician takes it, turns it over so that no matter where it is inside this packet, you'll know where it is. But with just a little magical snap, we actually make that card vanish from the cards, leaving only 4 cards right in front of their eyes. And where does it end up? Right in the wallet that's been on the table the entire time. Now, to do this trick, there's going to be a few things you prepare. First is duplicates of each of the 5 cards that the spectator is going to choose between. So for me, I picked out a duplicate Queen of Spades, 4 of Clubs, 3 of Diamonds, 7 of Spades, and Ace of Diamonds. But again, you could use any random cards. I like to throw in a face card and have a mix of red and black. So you're going to find those cards in a separate deck, and you're going to place those duplicates in the following locations. Now, if you know about the multiple out principle, you're probably getting ahead of me here and seeing where this is going, but I encourage you to watch till the end to see the intricacies of how each out can play out. So the first one is I put the queen here in the wallet. Now the other one that goes in the wallet is the ace, and I put it right here. Now there's a reason this works well. In one out, you're able to open to the queen, show that there's nothing else in here, and move on. In the other case, you're able to turn the wallet over, show this card, and that there's no other card in that pocket. In the deck, you're going to have one of the duplicates placed face up in the middle. Because of the force we use, I like to place it near the bottom, so that way when the spectator cuts the cards in half, they aren't cutting to the upturned card. So you have that card in the middle, and then one more of the duplicates on the bottom. So that's 2 in the wallet, 2 in the deck, and then you're going to have one last one inside the card box or under the card box, or I like to put it in the cellophane here. All you have to do is make sure that this isn't ever shown unless you need to reveal that card. So like I said, this is the multiple outs principle. We taught another video on this channel where the multiple outs were used to make it look like your prediction always worked. In this case, we're going to make it look as though their thought of card, which feels unforced, travels to an isolated or impossible location. The thing with multiple outs is that isolation aspect where it makes it look as though it is the only object in that location. So take your original 5 cards and place them on top of the deck, place the deck in the box, and when you perform this, you might want to throw out your wallet, your phone, your keys on the table so that it is there in full view the whole time. So I'm just going to place these 2 objects to the side, and let's get into the performance. We're once again going to use the cross-cut force, but you could use any force you want to. You could also use any false shuffles to get into this. But what you could do is show that all the cards are different by giving quick flashes while spreading across the top. The reason this is helpful is that you don't want to show the face-up card that's in the middle of the deck, and you also don't want to show the bottom card because we don't want them to see any duplicates. So once you've shown how all the cards are different, you are going to place the cards on the table, and like I said, we're using the cross-cut force. You can use a different one if you'd like. But if you've never learned that before, you're going to invite the audience to cut the deck into 2 piles, and then after they've done that, you're going to say, I'm just going to mark where you cut the cards. And when you do that, you place the cards in this orientation. And so by doing that, you're blatantly lying, but there's something psychological to this. You say that you're marking where they cut. This is where they cut. This is the top of the deck. But by doing this motion of they cut the deck into 2 piles and you say, I'm just going to mark that, and we'll get back to that in a minute. That is going to set them up to not really remember which card is which, and you're going to be able to force the card later. But for the cross-cut force to work, we need what's called time misdirection. So you're just going to talk about something for a second. In this case, something like, now when you cut the cards, you weren't thinking too much about it, so it's pretty much a random chance wherever this is going to end up. But I don't want to just give you a kind of random moment. I want you to make a choice as well. So in a moment, I'm going to have you make a very important choice, and it's important for you to know that whatever you pick out of that is what we'll go with, okay? So that's interesting, and that kind of frames the trick. And that's really all the time you need. So you can come over to here, and this was the top of the deck, but you're going to say, all right, I'm just going to go to where you cut, and I'm actually going to take a few cards out. And that'll set you up to then turn over the force cards. Turning them over at this point is helpful so that they don't feel like it's weird that you're seeing the cards. Something in the kind of card selection procedure that can be hard is if you do a spread and you have them pick a card and then you say, oh, it's okay for me to see it, you can turn it over. That can always feel clunky and weird. So you've given them this moment to cut the cards. Now you can say, all right, let's look at a few of the cards you cut to. So we're all looking at the cards. It's no big deal, right? Then you're going to take what was the top half of the deck and place it back on top. That will maintain this revelation in case you need it. And of course the 3 of diamonds is still in the middle face up as well. You can mix these cards up if you like, or have them mix them up, and you're just going to lay them out and say, now, are you drawn to any of these cards? Which card do you want to go with? Whichever card you go with, that is the one we will use. They'll pick their card, and let's just, for sake of argument, use one of the wallet cards for now. And they pick that card. You say, are you sure? You can change your mind. The great thing is they really can change their mind. So just assuming they don't, you're going to explain how you're going to isolate that card here so that we all can see where it is. And then you get this cool moment where we're going to use an Elmsley count. Now an Elmsley count is a sleight of hand move. Now an Elmsley count is a sleight of hand move where you're able to hide cards essentially. There's a lot you can do with it, but in this case we're going to use it to hide this card. So you place it facing the other way between the bottom cards. So you can't place it here or here, you're going to place it right here. And by turning it the other way and placing it there, that'll set you up for this Elmsley count. And so here are some brief mechanics. Peel over with your thumb. Now I'm in my subordinate hand, I'm left-handed, so I'm actually in my right hand for this. And I like to peel over with my thumb a little bit, which gives my dominant hand the opportunity to pinch here in sort of this grip. I peel over and I deal into my subordinate hand. And then before I go to deal again, I'm actually going to peel over all the cards. And in this grip, in this little pincher grip, that's actually going to be pretty easy to do. You're just going to be able to push over a block of those 3 cards without too much hassle. So you've peeled and you're pushing over a block. Now after you've done that, you're also going to load this card back onto the bottom. So you load that card back onto the bottom as you take that big block of cards. You can then go straight into dealing that card normally and dealing this card normally. Now, they will see this card twice, but because they're kind of indifferent random cards, in a quick flash, what they'll notice is the fact that there's no face down card. So one more time, they see that this card is turned over and that it's the card they've chosen, and you're going to peel over, dump, and put this back underneath, and then deal out normally. And they'll see 4 face-up cards and not their face-down card. What you can then do is 1 by 1 peel until you reach 4 cards so that you don't flash this bottom card. You don't just freely spread, you're going to peel from that subordinate dealing hand, like you're dealing cards individually, and you can show them. Now from here, there's going to be some things you can do to ditch this. But keep in mind, if you don't want to do all that sleight of hand, you can take these cards, you can mix it up, and you can pretend that it's gone away. You have to move on more quickly, but it is something you can consider if you're not feeling comfortable with the sleight of hand. But let's just say you've ended up here now, you know the rest, you're going to be able to reveal that the card has gone here. So from here, you can figure out what the rest is going to look like. If it wasn't the Queen of Spades they chose, maybe they chose the Ace of Diamonds, you make it vanish, you turn over the wallet and you show it. If they picked any of the other outs, the wallet can just stay there. You don't have to reference the wallet if that's not one of the outs they chose. If they chose the 3 of Diamonds, you spread the deck and you show the 3 of Diamonds. If they chose the 4 of Clubs, you make that vanish and you show the 4 of Clubs has ended up on the bottom of the deck, which was here the whole time. And then last, if they choose the 7 of Spades, once again, make that 7 vanish and then you show it under here. So do you see how that works? In all cases, what you want to present is, now look, you'll notice that I wasn't touching the deck this whole time, but now suddenly that 3 of Diamonds has traveled there, or that 4 of Clubs has traveled there. In the case of the box, you could say, I haven't been touching the box this whole time, it's traveled there. Now what about this lingering card here? Well, of course, when the time is right, you can place this on top and show that there's really only 4 cards left. Another thing you can do if you're comfortable with it is you can Gambler's Cop the bottom card away, which is where you kind of hold it in this grip. It's kind of toward the back of your hand. You can Gambler's Cop it away to your pocket. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out the video that's being recommended to you on the screen at the end here. But until next time, keep enjoying your magic, stay a hobbyist at heart, and I'll see you guys in the next video.